Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart, the most listened to internet radio show in the nonprofit sector, dedicated to helping your charity succeed. It's no secret that combining online and offline techniques is the key to modern-day fundraising success, and practical advice is what you need. The Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart is the perfect landing point to learn from experts around the world who provide advice you can use. Ted Hart is without a doubt one of the foremost nonprofit thought leaders, also a successful author. His books range from successful online fundraising to the use of social media and how to make your nonprofit green. Guests on the Nonprofit Coach are leaders in their field who share tips and trade secrets for nonprofit management and fundraising success. Ted lectures around the world, but now he's here for you. From the latest in charity news, technology, fundraising, and social networking, Ted and his guests help you and your organization move to greater levels of efficiency and fundraising success. This is a live call-in show. Add your voice by calling 347-324-3080. After the show, you can find all our podcasts at tedhart.com. Click on Radio. Don't forget to dial 347-324-3080. Now, welcome the host of the Nonprofit Coach, Ted Hart.
And welcome back here to the latest edition of the Nonprofit Coach. Thank you for joining us again here to learn all about the latest techniques on how you can succeed in the nonprofit sector. Today we've got a very important show for you, how to grow your community online. Randy Paynter and Rardin will be here with us from Care2 as we get to our page 2 experts today. So don't miss that part of the show so that your organization can learn all the latest techniques and how you can succeed in growing a larger community and therefore raising more money for your nonprofit organization. We're going to, first of all, though, get started, as we always do, with page 1 news. Over here on page 1 news, it is my honor and privilege to welcome back here to the Nonprofit Coach. It is that time of the month for us to welcome Ava Aldrich here with CFRE Minute. And Ava, I understand a great deal of international expansion over at CFRE, and you spent some very informative and important time at the German Fundraising Congress. So tell us all about it. Bring us up to date on the CFRE Minute.
Thanks, Ted. Happy to do so. Yes, we're very excited here that CFRE remains extremely strong in North America, but also there is worldwide interest growing in CFRE. And certainly the German Fundraising Congress, which we attended this past May, it's very exciting to see folks from outside North America starting to take a look at what CFRE is, how it can really help build international philanthropy and trust in the sector. And we had a wonderful gathering of a small group of invited individuals to hear more about German American philanthropy at the German Fundraising Association conference, or in conjunction with it. So I would just share that anyone who's interested in the topic of German American perspectives on philanthropy, we will have a transcript of one of our speakers from that evening, Kimberly Marteau Emerson, whose husband is the U.S. ambassador to Germany, and she is a formidable activist and civic leader in her own right, and we will have that on our website this coming week as part of our Leading Edge newsletter.
Well, that sounds extremely important. What are just some of the takeaways that you got from what I gather was a very warm welcome for the concepts of certification in the fundraising community in Germany? Is this a new development, or has this been coming for some time?
Ted, since we got the global exam started in June of 2013, we've been working on expanding awareness about CFRE around the globe. And so I think that we're starting to see, the outcome of our outreach being people are interested. Certainly, fundraisers around the world are interested because it's one more way in which fundraising can be truly recognized as a profession, is by having that international certification standard. So we occupy a very unique niche, and I think it's a message that's truly striking home to fundraisers because, Ted, as you know from your travels to various fundraising conferences around the world and your work, what we see is that fundraising truly is a global profession, that there's much more that fundraisers have in common around the world than there are differences.
And one of the commonalities is the interest in building trust and understanding both the art and the science of fundraising. Where beyond the German Fundraising Congress have you been lately that is really starting to expand this international footprint?
I think one place certainly is the Brazil Fundraising Association. We also were at their conference in May, and I was part of a panel on discussion of certification and what it means to individual fundraisers and to the profession. Certainly the message about certification and its importance is being taken up in Brazil and taken very seriously by the Brazilian Fundraising Association. We see that, too, at the Japan Fundraising Association, where I was earlier this year and spoke about certification and its benefits not only for individual fundraisers but also for the philanthropic sector. Because as you mentioned, trust is vital. Without trust, donors will not give, and they will not give generously, and that's what we need. And certification plays a key part in that.
The summer coming up is a good time for folks to really take a look at the various aspects of CFRE and perhaps prepare to begin that process in earnest this fall. How can those that are listening today who have been on the fence thinking about it, either they haven't renewed and they need to, or it's time for them to cross over and to become certified, how can they best do that?
I think the key thing is to go to our website, www.cfre.org, because there, if you need to recertify, you can do so using our application portal, which we totally overhauled in November of 2014, and so it's a much easier, faster, and simpler process than it used to be. The same thing goes for initial certification. I think that individuals who are wanting to do that will be pleased that they can start their account at any time and start putting in their education and their qualifications so that by the time they feel prepared to sit for the exam, all they'd have to do is press a button and apply. And just one more thing I'd add, too, and this is a development that just happened at the beginning of this year that some people may not be aware of. We are now with a new testing partner. So if anyone out there has put off CFRE certification just because it's been inconvenient to get to a testing center, they need to take a new look because we've got 10 times the number of testing centers available that we used to. So it's more than likely that there's now a testing center that's very close to you that's going to be convenient, and so that way it will make the testing process easier.
So one more convenient way to avoid moving forward on CFRE is bit the dust. So you no longer have that excuse. The testing centers are now near you, wherever you are, and it's time to join the large and growing ranks of certified fundraising executives. This has been Ava Aldrich. Ava, thank you so much for joining us again, and we look forward to having you on our next show. Of course, this being June, we won't be back with Ava Aldrich and the CFRE Minute until we come back from our summer break in September. So, Ava, you have a wonderful summer.
You too, Ted. Thanks. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to having new developments to share in September.
You always do, and it's always a pleasure to have you here. That's Ava Aldrich from CFRE.org. Make sure you check it out and begin your process of becoming a certified fundraising executive. We're going to now head over to our terrific guests for Page 2. I've wanted to have these gentlemen on the show for quite some time. The expertise that they have at Care2, represented today by Randy Paynter and Eric Rardin, is very important to every nonprofit organization. Randy Paynter is the Care2 founder, president, and CEO. He's a pioneer in online citizen advocacy. Randy launched Care2 in 1998 to elevate individual voices in support of social environmental causes. Today, Care2 is the online destination for social activism with more than 27 million members taking collective action to make a difference, featuring petition services, daily actions to affect change, original content, and mindful living, and more. Alongside Care2, Randy has helped shape the world of online advocacy with the petition.Site.com. Care2, now listen to this, Care2 has recruited more than 30 million donors to 1,500 nonprofit organizations. So clearly, these folks have some of the secret keys to the kingdom where you may want to go to help grow your community online. Joining him today is Eric Rardin, who is the Vice President of Business Development at Care2, where he helps hundreds of campaigns, candidates, and nonprofits connect with donors and supporters online. At Care2, Eric advises on donor lead acquisition and multi-channel conversation strategies. He has contributed to integrated conversion efforts on behalf of nonprofits in the U.S., Canada, the United Kingdom, and over 100 countries. So for all of our listeners around the world, this is for you. And welcome here to the Nonprofit Coach. First, Randy Paynter, welcome.
Thanks, Ted. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. And joining you is Eric Rardin. Hello, Eric.
Hi, Ted.
It's great to have you both here. So I'm going to start off, since you are the founder, president, and the CEO, grand poobah of Care2. I'm going to start off with Randy Paynter. What is Care2?
Yeah, thanks, Ed. So Care2 is a social network of about 30 million people who are standing together for good. So primarily people come to Care2 to start petitions and sign petitions and then support each other's campaigns. So there's a really wide variety of types of campaigns on Care2. It's from animal welfare, environment, workers' rights, women's rights, you name it. There's probably a petition on Care2 about it. Care2 is also a benefit corporation, meaning that we use business as a force for good. And the way that we generate revenues is really by finding, recruiting prospective donors for nonprofit organizations. We also work with a number of for-profits as well to recruit prospective customers for them. So we're basically helping nonprofits to find members in a more affordable and effective way than their traditional methods of, primarily direct mail. So we've actually helped recruit over 40 million prospective donors for nonprofits, maybe even 50 million at this point. We're 17 years old. We're based in the Bay Area. Unlike most Silicon Valley-based firms, we have not taken venture capital, yet we're profitable. We're growing fast. We have offices in D.C. and London as well, and that's where Eric is today.
So, Eric, you're over in London, are you?
Yeah, I arrived this morning. We work with a great list of charities here in the UK and actually increasingly throughout the EU.
Well, then you've got a terrific global perspective to bring to this. So we've just heard what Care2 is, but can you help us understand how does Care2 help a nonprofit build a community online? How does this actually work?
Sure. I'll take that question. So primarily we'll work with organizations to help to identify the types of prospective donors they're looking to recruit. So an organization will come to us and say, let's say we want to recruit 50,000 prospective donors, and those are people that will join their email list, and they'll be able to contact them via email as well as direct mail and telesales as well if they by phone if they want to take that approach as well. We will then craft a campaign with that organization that appeals to the types of prospective donors that organization is looking for. Send that appeal out to our members. So we'll target our member base of 30 million people to figure out which ones are the ones that are most likely to respond in a positive way, that are the types of prospective donors that these organizations are looking for. And so generally this is done through an online petition. It turns out that a petition, somebody who signs a petition online on behalf of a nonprofit organization is 7 times more likely to make a donation to that organization versus someone who just signs up organically for that organization's email list. So
give that statistic again. How much more likely?
Yeah, they're 7 times more likely to make a donation than someone who's just signed up for the organization's email list. So there's the process of taking action on behalf of the organization. You know, there's probably a filtering aspect to that, but there's certainly also kind of a ladder of engagement that we help them to step up the ladder of engagement to get more involved, to feel a stronger bond with that organization because they've taken action for it. Now, the important other aspect of this is traditionally organizations have created essentially a profile where they're looking to find new donors based on certain characteristics. So maybe it's a woman, maybe she's age 50 plus, maybe she drives a Prius. They use these certain traits that they know exist among their existing donors to find new donors. What we do is we take that actually a step further. We say we find people who are actually showing intent to support that organization's mission, because these people are signing a petition demonstrating that they are actually supporting the cause. So it's a really tight connection to the organization's mission, and therefore they're more likely to make a donation, and therefore it's more efficient and effective than kind of the traditional methods that nonprofits have been using.
Okay, so gentlemen, let me just sort of put this in perspective for folks. Here on the Nonprofit Coach, we talk about all aspects of nonprofit management, and we certainly focus a lot on online success and social media. And one of the concepts that's often discussed here on the show is this need to know your donor, this need to have more information. They're not just a checkbook, they're not just a credit card, but the more that you know about them, the more you can engage them, and the more real the relationship can be between donor and charity. It sounds like what you gentlemen are describing here is that Care2 has been doing that. You've been doing that for 17 years. You know a lot about the people who are active on your site. They're participating in petition. They're telling you more about their likes and their dislikes and where they live and what they do. And so part of what you're able to sort of serve up and make available is a well-seasoned group of activists, if you will, or people that can sometimes have a negative tone, but they're people who are active in their communities, care about their community, Care2, and therefore when a charity comes to you and wants to engage in a campaign, they're engaging in sort of a warm pool already. How hot can that get is how close you can then match what you know about donors, and you probably know a whole lot more about the folks on your site than the average nonprofit does about their own donors. Is that sort of a fair way to let people know why you bring value?
I think that's fair. I think we also, because of our scale and the fact that we work with 1,500 nonprofit organizations, we have a perspective that individual organizations are not going to be able to have, which gives us access to, we say, big data, the analytics that allow us to really find the best prospective donors. So organizations can go out and recruit on their own. But it's very, very difficult for them to get as sophisticated a back-end solution, well, frankly, the entire kind of vertical chain solution to find those best donors. So what we often hear from organizations is that the folks that we recruit for them perform far better than the folks that they're able to recruit themselves. So, it's a combination of factors, but particularly as direct mail, I think direct mail acquisition has dropped something like 25% in the last 10 years. Nonprofits are finding that they're having to move a lot of their money for acquisition online, we're also able to find a slightly younger audience. So kind of our average demographic is about 40 years old. It's maybe slightly older than that. So these are folks that actually have money to donate, but they're also kind of the future of that organization, of these organizations' donor pool. So they're going to be with these organizations for many years because they have their email address. They're establishing rapport with these individuals, and they're young enough that they're going to be around for a number of years still to donate.
So in looking at the Care2 model, there's a lot of care and feeding that has to go into a successful relationship, both online and offline. Is part of the work that you've done and part of what you bring to the table is that you've been about that business for quite some time and you really know how to succeed in that realm?
For sure, yeah, that's certainly been part of the key. We've learned a lot over the years. We've tried a lot of things. A lot of things haven't worked, and we figured out, what does work through those years. So we try to use the best practices that we've learned over the years, and we try to help our nonprofit clients also learn how to use those as well. So, such as welcome series, such as immediately kind of responding when somebody signs up for their list. There's a whole series of tactics that can be used to kind of bring somebody up the ladder of engagement and hopefully get them to make a donation. So, yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
That's the second time that you've mentioned this ladder of engagement. Share with us that concept and where does Care2 fit, and what are most nonprofits getting wrong in terms of utilizing that approach?
Right. Well, so actually, one of the reasons that I started Care2 was that this was 17 years ago, was the understanding at the time that a lot of folks were feeling a great sense of apathy. It was cool not to care, and so there was a great sense of disenfranchisement between individuals and the causes that are so important. And so there were two kind of general problems that I was trying to overcome. One was that people felt like a lot of the problems of the world weren't related to them. They didn't impact them directly. I think the Internet has helped to kind of help everybody to feel a whole lot more connected than ever before, but that certainly wasn't the case 17 years ago. And the other problem was that people felt like these issues were so big, they were too big for individuals to actually make a difference on themselves. They needed governments, or they needed nonprofit organizations. And so I took a different approach than I think most nonprofits were using at the time, which was, you don't have to pay anything. You don't have to devote your blood, sweat, and tears. You just need to do something really, really simple to take action, and that is going to make a difference. Because together, when we all of us take these individual small actions, they really do add up into something pretty magnificent. And so that was my goal, was to lower the barrier to entry, because I knew that if you can hook them, help them to feel good about actually doing something positive, they were going to want to come back and do more. And that's kind of the first step in terms of this ladder of engagement. So you get them involved in something really, really simple, really feel good, and very light touch. And then you get them to come back and do more, and you give them opportunities to do more and more and more. And eventually you've got someone who doesn't just, click once, but they actually consider themselves an environmentalist or a human rights advocate. And, people want to work and kind of live in concert with who they see themselves as. And so somebody who sees themselves as an environmentalist is likely to then vote more like an environmentalist. Hopefully, an environmentalist would, spend more like an environmentalist would, and donate to organizations that are supporting protecting the environment. And so that was kind of the foundation for this concept of the ladder of engagement, getting them up and getting them more involved. What some organizations could do better in that regard is one, making it really simple. Sometimes, the first ask would be, we want you to become a monthly donor right off the bat. Well, that's a pretty high ask for somebody who may not even know much about the organization in the first place. That may be easier for some of the big brands, but for some smaller organizations, that's tough. So if you can actually get them to take simple actions that reflect the values of your brand, of your brand proposition, let that person help your organization. That's why signing petitions are such a great vehicle to acquire new donors, is because you're basically helping somebody is feeling like they're being part of your organization. They feel like they're being brought in to support your organization in a way that's a really easy thing for them to do at first, but it's still meaningful. And then eventually, you work your way up to get them to become a donor. So we see Care2 as really kind of the opening of this big funnel. We use a whole lot of sophisticated filtering to find really quality donors and then hand those individuals off to the nonprofit organizations to let them take them to the next level, to get them, do more volunteer activities, to make donations, et cetera.
It sounds like a respectful relationship model that I think, and we've talked a lot on this show about how just sort of the hit and run fundraising of online, give me now and then give again, negates the whole opportunity to engage and build a relationship, to educate and draw donors closer to your organization. Is that because the folks who are on Care2, who may choose to support various activities, are already within sort of an ecosystem of support?
Well, that's true. So there's a couple of responses to that. So that is true. We have a like-minded audience on Care2. So we're not just kind of a generic petition platform, and what we really are is a shared values community. So everyone on our site is looking to create kind of a kinder, more inclusive, more sustainable world. And so they all share these values. So that they feel like they're part of something that is greater than themselves. And I forgot my next point, but yeah, they do. It is.
Well, I want you to sort of reflect on this ecosystem of support in terms of how nonprofits who may be going it alone and not having what you folks are able to bring to the table, how can they replicate that once the donor is a supporter of theirs?
Right. Sorry. Thank you. So the point is, in terms of that relationship, you're absolutely right. You can't just keep on asking them for money every time. I consider it kind of in terms of like building that emotional bank account, to borrow a term from relationship psychology or something. So that basically you need to give and give and give and then ask, and give and give and give and give and then ask. And so you don't want to just be asking. And it turns out that actually having somebody sign a petition is essentially, it's more like a gift than it is an ask, because people actually like doing that. They feel that they're actually doing something good. And so they feel that they're contributing in a way that's not going to actually, cost them anything. So you want to, so the organizations should absolutely give them, whether it's content, whether it's, asking them to take an action that it doesn't cost anything. All these little, participate in a forum, participate in a town hall session, whatever it is that they can offer. To give something back to those individuals that are part of the organization, help those individuals to feel that they are part of the organization, and then they can ask them for the money. I think that's the strategy that has worked so well for us, and that I think will work for nonprofits as well.
So again, back to
sorry, I didn't mean to dominate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, going back to this issue of sort of the ladder of engagement, again, this is not just an issue of fundraising. This is really an issue of relationship building, drawing people closer to your organization through systemic engagement. Are these the methods and the education that comes with working with Care2? Because it sounds like you've really perfected, or at least have been exhibiting those activities much more than the average nonprofit does.
I might jump in on that one. So we do very much, we put a lot of time and effort into working with the nonprofits that we work with to help them craft a really comprehensive, integrated, multi-channel approach to building and sustaining this relationship. So, we often will talk to a fundraiser, and they'll say, oh, yeah, we want to get some data from you or some leads from you. And we try and respond with, we can help you recruit supporters, because we want to frame this as these are people. And the more you can sort of picture, as you're sending an appeal to them or asking them to take action or volunteer, the more you actually picture a human being in your mind's eye versus a spreadsheet, the more successful you're going to be fundamentally. One of the things, so in terms of cultivating and building a stronger long-term relationship, it's a lot of what Randy was saying, really encouraging our partners to engage with these individuals, giving back, not just asking, but providing them with opportunities to take action, providing them with information, providing them with opportunities to engage with them on Facebook and across the internet. But also, we really do think of this as a multi-channel relationship. And the organizations that are most successful and in terms of sustaining these relationships over years and years are those organizations that are being very thoughtful about reaching out to the people they've recruited from Care2 and engaging them not only online but also in the mail and on the phones, but doing that in a way that's very integrated. And the more they're able to do that, certainly from a fundraising perspective, they'll dramatically increase their lifetime value. What's interesting about Care2 is we sort of grew up with online fundraising. Online fundraising is about as old as we are. And so the market has evolved, and we've been continually learning from fundraisers and campaigners about what they need from the internet, what they need from online supporters, but also what they do to fundraise and how we can help support their fundraising efforts and help them be successful. And it's different in different markets. In the UK, it's much more of a focus on on telemarketing to convert to monthly donors. And in Canada, face-to-face is still very, very heavy. But we're really focusing on trying to learn what the organizations are currently doing, figure out how we can support that, but also share with them things that we know will help them be more successful in their efforts going forward.
That's terrific. When we come back from this break, I want to ask you two gentlemen, what is the profile of the ideal nonprofit organization that will benefit from the Care2 approach to growing your online community? And we'll be right back after this break.
When you have a great idea and need to work with others to bring it to life, how do you do it? Sometimes it's tough because the people you work with are in different places, with different schedules, using different devices. Google Apps lets you bring ideas to life with others. Here's how. Start with email that offers more. Gmail does more than send and receive emails. It connects people and lets you chat instantly while viewing a snapshot of your team's relevant activities and access to everything they've shared with you. With Google Docs, there's only one version for everyone to work on. Share easily with the right people without email attachments or compatibility hassles. And work together on the same docs at the same time, in a way that simply makes sense. Edit and interact easily with integrated social commenting. Google Calendar makes it easy to share schedules and find times to meet, and schedule or update meetings with a few clicks. Everyone can't be in the same place at the same time, but Google Apps lets you work together from any place. With multi-way video chat, you'll feel like you're all in the same room. while screen sharing and integration with Google Docs lets you work with more people from anywhere, on any device, even on your mobile phone or tablet. Work with any team at any time, from any place, on any device. Google Apps. Work in the future, today. To learn more, go to google.com/apps.
And just a program note for everyone, grab your calendars next week here on the Nonprofit Coach at 12 noon Eastern. We will have John Murcott. He will be coming to us from Crowdster.com, and they are the social networking and engagement experts. They're going to be helping you with everything from event registration to gamification and incentivization, and providing you the analytics and the online tools that you need to succeed. And then this is the big show. This is the one that we wait for every year. The good folks at the Giving Institute use our show each year to announce the new Giving USA report results. Peter Fissinger will be here from the Giving Institute here at 4 p.m. Eastern on June 16th. That is release date for the new official Giving USA report. All the latest figures will be announced here on the Nonprofit Coach. So please mark your calendars. Again, that's June 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Remember, our podcasts and archives are always available 24 hours a day at tedhart.com. Click on radio links. If you're listening live today, the phone lines are open. Call in and ask a question by dialing 347-324-3080. Now, back to the Nonprofit Coach with Ted Hart.
And we're live here on the Nonprofit Coach with Randy Paynter and Eric Rardin from Care2. Gentlemen, before we went on the break, I posed the question, and I'd like to ask you to give us a peek at what is the ideal profile of a nonprofit organization that can succeed with the tools available from Care2 to build a successful online community.
That's a great question, and actually, so there's two levels of this. Anybody, organization or individual, can create a petition on Care2 for free and engage with people, and so really anybody can use Care2, which is how we've built this amazing community. In terms of leveraging our paid services, at a minimum, it's not country specific. We work all over the world. At a minimum, the organization has to be able to send emails to people and engage at a minimum online. That's at least that channel they have to have sufficiently in place. So they have to have a good email system, and if they're looking to fundraising, obviously they would need to have a solid online fundraising tool as well. Beyond that, they don't have to be the biggest, richest organizations in the world. We work with organizations that are actually quite small. We might have a staff of 4 in some cases, sometimes even less, thinking about a couple examples. So it's more about, at a minimum, having that online capability to engage and continue the conversation once we start it. The more channels an organization is able to put in place, the more successful they'll be from a fundraising perspective. So if they also do direct mail and they also do telemarketing, that just gives them more opportunities to ask the donor to give in the channel that the donor prefers to give. So that definitely helps them. We don't work with right-wing organizations. We have, our community is built up of people that are essentially on the center to the left of the political spectrum. We work with lots of non-political organizations like National Geographic and some of the Smithsonian museums and so forth. So they don't have to be, very, super ideological. But we've made the decision that it's not a good fit for us, and it's not a good fit for our community to work with organizations that are sort of anti-gun control and so forth. And really, part of it is because fundamentally we don't think they are helping make the world a better place, and we're trying to empower organizations that are trying to make the world a better place. So that is one factor. But beyond that, the key to success for an organization is treating these people like individuals, having really thought through ways to engage them beyond solely a monetary ask, and really having a plan in place before you start.
So where does sort of the value proposition of what the charity is doing factor into this? You were saying politically there is a particular place on the spectrum that your members are more likely to respond, and therefore, why send out something that's not going to be successful? Or I gather an organization that is truly apolitical and doesn't have any particular leanings might benefit from your service. But where does that fit in terms of the value proposition of what the organization is about? Are these more likely to be successful if they're advocacy organizations, or is this just as successful for a membership-based organization?
What we've found is that the organizations they don't have to be advocacy organizations per se. We work with a lot of organizations that don't do sort of traditional advocacy. So as a result, in addition to running petitions, we also run pledges, and we ask people to pledge to make the world a better place in a variety of ways. And those pledges can be powerful. What these actions are doing is filtering out people who have an affinity for a particular issue, and they're raising their hand and saying, yes, I'm going to take this pledge or sign this petition. They're raising their hand, and then from there also saying, not only do I care about this issue, but I want to hear from this organization. It's actually asking for or saying, yes, I'm happy to receive more email from another organization. That shouldn't be ignored. Most people don't want more email, and so if they agree to receive email from another organization, that alone is a meaningful sort of expression of interest. The organizations that are going to be most successful, whether it's a pledge or a petition, is the more concrete the action is, the more directly the action relates to the work of the organization, and the more directly the action is connected to actually making an impact is sort of the key to success from a recruitment standpoint.
And I'll say we've also, just kind of as an example, we've had for-profit companies that are kind of in the natural foods or natural food products arena that have done extremely well with campaigns on Care2, and they're not into advocacy at all, but we've had members pledge to eat organic or more healthy, and those have ended up recruiting some very valuable customers for some of these organizations.
You mentioned that you've been around for quite some time, and what that means is that you have written out a couple of recessions, an internet bubble burst. You've remained profitable nearly the entire time. I believe you were the third social network ever launched, and I wonder what you attribute that success and that longevity to be in an era where online is often a flash in the pan.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it is pretty unusual. We'll just leave it at that. That we've been around for 17 years through through high and low, and we haven't raised any real money since 2000, actually, which is particularly unusual in this sphere. So we did raise money initially from some high net worth individuals back in between 98 and 2000. But by 2001, we had burned through that all. We were still trying to figure out what the model was. My initial vision was actually it didn't involve this lead generation model at all. Actually, it was really around green e-commerce and advertising. That's what I originally thought was the way we were going to be able to monetize it. My goal was always to create this kind of what I call an engine for good, where we could help people to do good, and by getting them to do good, we would find a way to generate revenues that we could then pump back into helping them to do more good. So it's kind of this really virtuous cycle. And so it took us a while to figure out that model. So we wanted a model where our mission and our margin were totally aligned. The more money we make, the more good we do. The more good we do, the more money we make. And it was just kind of fortuitous that we stumbled on this lead generation model, because literally nobody was doing it at the time in the nonprofit sphere, and we were kind of had our backs up against the wall in 2001, and times were extremely tough. No one was able to raise money after 9/11, and so we ended up sending out an appeal actually on behalf of the Environmental Defense Fund. Found that we got a lot of donors for them, and that was kind of the beginning of this whole model of donor acquisition for nonprofits. So I think the formula is pretty simple. I think the formula is basically take action, listen to the feedback, and then adjust course. Right? Just those three steps, and you do it time and time and time again. That's always kind of the success formula. The challenge, I think, for most organizations is that, primarily when they don't listen very well. They don't necessarily face reality, and I think we're really good about facing reality and realizing when something's not working, we change course and we try something different. And so I think that facing reality is probably one of the keys. And I think the other thing was just the realization that we weren't going to be able to go out and raise more money early on anyway. And so therefore we needed to find a way to pay for this through internally generated cash flow. We needed to figure out the revenue model. And so, my background, I have an MBA, and so that was kind of always been my background, is to use the power of the markets for good and find a way to generate revenues through doing good. And so that, I think, was the other kind of key. So make sure you can make money and listen to the feedback that you're getting, and just keep on adjusting course. And we rode out some very tough times, and there were times where we had to do layoffs. But the last couple of years has been just fabulous. I mean, this year is just absolutely amazing as the market is really finally maturing. Business is kind of is coming in at unprecedented levels, and we're growing like a weed right now. So I think we've figured out a number of things along the way, and these are good times.
Well, you're not the only petition site out there. What do you attribute your longevity and the model that you just described? There's a lot of petition sites out there who are not doing as well as you are. What's sort of that secret sauce?
Right. Well, the funny thing is, when we first started the petition site, I mean, the reason I started was that there were these email chain letter petitions that used to go around and flood everybody's inbox, and a lot of well-meaning folks were signing their names to the bottom of an email, sending it to all their friends, saying support this particular cause. And of course, none of that did any good. And my mother would send me these all the time, and I just realized there was so much passion out there. There's got to be a way to help folks to really have a positive impact. And so that was the kind of the reason that we started the petition site. And so, and originally it wasn't actually, there was no revenue model associated with it. And it was just really to help people to do good. And we figured that eventually we'd find a way to generate revenues and support it. And so it just really took off, and we had a number of victories kind of early on. And we realized we were really onto something. And I think we were the first ones to figure out this lead gen model. And for years, nobody else knew that model. It was kind of our secret sauce, and we didn't talk about it, and other than to our clients, and no one else really kind of picked up on it. And then probably maybe 5 or 7 years ago or so, some others started realizing this is why we're being so successful when all these other sites are struggling. They were trying to do, display ads or something, which really kind of didn't work well in an advocacy petition kind of based solution, or they're asking for donations or something like that. And so I think that was it was the fact that we figured out the revenue model that was completely aligned with the mission of the site. It made sense, and it was all working together. I think that was part of the key there too. And I think the fact that we have this shared values community. I mean, whenever somebody starts, citizens are starting petitions all the time on Care2. When they start a petition that is something that is within this kind of value set of our membership base, they take off because our members are looking for these new petitions. They will immediately start signing them, sharing them on Facebook or Twitter, and helping them to be successful. What we've also done recently is actually add staff to work directly with citizen authors to help to make sure that their petitions are successful. So we will we'll actually help to craft the petition, the text of it, the imagery. We will work with them on media training. We will actually go out and help to get them interviews, their local TV or radio stations or the press. And so we're really partnering. I call it kind of a campaign team in a box. So historically we've seen some big viral campaigns that have just taken off, and therefore it kind of seems like the good petitions will always take off. But that's not really true. There are actually a lot of individuals out there who are onto something significant and want to make a real impact and have a really important issue, but they're not able to be successful because they don't necessarily have the skill set or the knowledge to understand how to make their petition successful. So we wanted to kind of close that loop and to provide them that service. And so that has really taken off in the last year or so. We've invested heavily in that, and so more people know about Care2 than ever before. They're searching for Care2. They're starting petitions on Care2, and so I think that's kind of why our traffic is kind of going through the roof, and as people are starting more petitions on Care2, and then we use that. We kind of we tap into that passion of all these people that are signing these individual citizen petitions. And after they sign that first citizen petition, we show them a nonprofit petition that may resonate with them, and try to get them to start up that ladder of engagement.
Eric, I'm wondering if you can sort of share with us your elevator pitch as the business development guy, someone who is now intrigued, is thinking about how might this model really benefit my organization? Would it really work to build a community online? How do you sort of triage that the perfect client and get them to then sign up?
So basically, I describe Care2 as an online source of multi-channel donor leads. We can provide organizations with thousands or hundreds of thousands of supporters in a very short period of time with very little work on their end, and we can help them work to effectively build a long-term relationship with these individuals that includes converting many of them into donors at a rate that will allow them to make their money back more quickly than any other single channel source of acquisition.
Is part of your work advisory on how to sustain those relationships? Yes,
absolutely. We know, as any good business should know, that if our customers aren't successful, we don't make it. And so on a purely sort of we've got to do this level, but also we feel like we have a commitment to our members as well. So we want them to have a good experience when they're engaging with the organizations we work with. But we absolutely work with organizations. We look at we go through their welcome series. We go through their editorial calendar. We'll look at their landing pages. We will look at their direct mail appeals and how they plan to fold Care2 members into their direct mail appeals. We'll look at their telemarketing scripts and see, to make sure that they're tailored to Care2 as a source of prospective givers. And we will talk to them and work with them about their sort of long-term plan. And we know that they will get so much more benefit if they do have a solid plan, and especially a plan that leverages multiple channels, including engaging our members on Facebook and across social media, but also online and in the mail and via email. It's critical that they do that, and the more that we're able to provide tips and guidance on ways to boost that, and any sort of feedback on either their email schedule or their welcome series or what have you, we're happy to do. And we're actually continually producing content. We're actually releasing a white paper this Thursday on acquiring and converting online supporters, and it covers the spectrum not just of recruiting from Care2, but also what organizations can do to grow their lists organically. And we really encourage them to start with getting their organic growth in place, and then start to look at other forms of acquisition, including working with Care2. And so we're constantly trying to build up this body of knowledge that we can share with our partners to help them be more successful.
Where's you had mentioned it's possible to recruit many donors, tens of thousands of donors, but where is the sweet spot in terms of the number of engagements, the amount of time before the organization really can see a revenue source coming from this?
So, well, that's a great question, because when we're working with organizations that are coming from a direct mail background and haven't done as much online, they're sort of used to being able to look 3 weeks after they've deployed an acquisition mailing and have a pretty good sense of how things are going to turn out. Whereas, because this is a long-term relationship, some of our members might give for the first time 18 months after initiating a relationship with a nonprofit. Of course, that's too slow to work for the nonprofits. We see that an organization working with us that's got all the tools in place and has a good plan will typically make their money back in 18 to 24 months. And that is beating a direct mail acquisition these days. And that's not to disparage direct mail. We urge our partners to include our members in direct mail as a means of converting them. But when you start out with this relationship, that you can basically have a conversation and reach out to people on a weekly, if not daily basis, you're much further down the road. So then when you send them a piece of direct mail, they're much warmer than what you typically have. So we think 18 to 24 months is a good, solid rate of return, or time to payback. We do have partners that make their money back much more quickly. And, of course, not everybody is going to make their money back. They really they've got to use all the levers. They have to have good systems in place, and they have to be a good fit.
So you folks are sort of the antidote to hit-and-run fundraising. You really have built a community. You have brought people together. You provide them opportunities to do good across your platform. And therefore, nonprofit organizations can benefit from the community that you've already created and warmed up for them. It's a matter of now engaging them for their specific cause.
I think that's a great way of phrasing it, and I'll circle back to see if I can't quote you on that in an upcoming piece, because we are fighting a constant battle against hit-and-run fundraising, and it's so often when our partners aren't successful, it's because they've taken a hit-and-run approach, and we then work with them and try and sort of get things back into a long-term relationship mode and say, you just got to keep building this relationship with folks. But that's absolutely our biggest challenge.
Well, you have a friend here, the Nonprofit Coach. We have been lecturing and training and sharing with our listeners for years that is not about hit-and-run fundraising. It is about those respectful relationships. That's what donors are looking for, and that's what they will care about. So, gentlemen, we are almost out of time. I love this conversation. You are definitely the folks who have the information on online communities. So I'm going to ask each of you individually just to make sure that we end the show letting my listeners know how they can reach you, and we'll start with Eric Rardin.
The easiest thing is to email me at ericr@care2team.com.
There you go. And Randy Paynter, how can my listeners reach you?
And I'm at Randy at care2team.com, so that'd be a great way. Happy to talk with anybody.
Terrific. All right. Well, gentlemen, the antidotes to hit-and-run fundraising right here on the Nonprofit Coach. Thank you for joining us today. We will be back live next week at 12 noon Eastern with John Murcott from Crowdster. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ted.
You've been listening to the Nonprofit Coach Radio Show with Ted Hart. Tell all your friends to check out our production schedule and download our iPod and iPad-friendly podcast at tedhart.com. Thanks for listening to the Nonprofit Coach.
Hola, mi gente. Rosalind Sanchez here from He Said, Ella Dijo. And although I like drama in my telenovelas, when it comes to real life, I prefer a drama-free casa. Thanks to Fabuloso. Its remarkable lavender scent lingers like a longing glance. And with 2 times more active ingredients to take the drama out of any mess, you'll be shouting, gracias. Fabuloso's 2 times concentrated formula provides 2 times more active cleaning ingredients versus non-concentrated Fabuloso Original. Use as directed.